Mario & Luigi has had a bit of a rocky history for the last several years, and not because the games are bad, or at least to my knowledge, but it more so has to do with poor timing and development. Alphadream got to work on the Mario & Luigi games just 3 years after they were founded, and was mostly comprised of former Square employees, including their second president, Tetsuo Mitsuno. The first 10 years of the series seem like it went pretty well, because every game reviewed very good, and I assume are the most beloved since they're the ones I see talked about the most. Paper Jam I still see people talk about, but not as highly as the previous entries. However, once the Nintendo Switch launched, the series took a turn for the worst, as both the Superstar Saga and Bowser's Inside Story remakes came out in 2017 and 2018 respectively, causing them to not sell as the Switch overshadowed them, which led to Alphadream unfortunately filing for bankruptcy. I'm quite sad I never got to experience these games while they were still around, considering how joyous of a time I had playing Superstars. My only memory I had with the series beforehand was helping my friend with a carrot minigame in Bowser's Inside Story, which pissed me off after a few attempts, and I don't think either of us ever beat it. So maybe that's why I never played the series, because of that one moment that made me mad. Anyway, that's enough about me. Let's talk about the whimsical game that is Superstar Saga. Superstars waste no time to start. We're immediately brought into the castle as the Goodwill Ambassador from Bean Bean Kingdom gives Princess Peach fart gas, which knocks her out along with stealing her voice and replacing it with a different vocabulary. Everyone evacuate! She's gonna curse! Bowser and Mario then form an unlikely duo, and Luigi also gets forced to join. Don't worry buddy, I haven't forgotten about you like most people in the game did. During your travels to retrieve Peach's voice, you'll come across a wide variety of characters that have great designs and different personalities. Every time you bump into one, you can bet on having fun conversations since Superstars loves its jokes and gags. The bros are also incredibly expressive to make up for their lack of speech. Whoa! My bad I don't speak Italanese. There's also a plethora of areas you'll explore, from lush forests, a bacteria-ridden university, and a little fungi town. Oh my god, you killed Mario! You're not fungis at all! All of these areas share something in common, which is that Superstar's art style makes them feel very whimsical, with bright colors popping in every environment you explore, and the backgrounds make the atmosphere that much better, which is complemented by the very catchy chiptune songs, which made going back to areas or elongated exploration fun because I could hum along to the songs while just vibing. Speaking of exploration, the game is constantly tantalizing you with areas or little spots that you can't access until you get more abilities that are very unique, like smashing your brother into the ground, and being able to pass through gates, and helicopter. The rewards are mainly coins, items, or beans, which doesn't sound like much, but are the best things you can possibly get for reasons that I'll talk more about in a bit. The abilities also allow for pretty unique puzzles. Granted, none of them are real brain twisters, but them being puzzles you wouldn't see in any other game made them very fun to solve. And there's tons of minigames, which are also fun to do, unless you're a barrel minigame that's mandatory and I wasn't able to complete for 40 minutes. But that could be pointed at anything really. At a first glance, the combat is just a regular turn-based RPG, and it does have traditional RPG stuff like equipment that buffs various stats, or coffee that gives permanent stat boosts. Man, I wish real life was like that. But what makes Superstar Saga stand out is the combat. As with most games, the early stages of battle are pretty basic as you don't have many moves you can do. However, once you get the aforementioned abilities, they also add some new standard attacks as well as unlock bros attacks, which are probably my second favorite thing about the combat because they encourage learning them without the slow-mo or button prompts so you can deal more damage. Well, what's your favorite thing then? Thanks for asking, Timmy. Well, you see, every single action, aside from using items, requires a timed button press, which keeps the combat engaging through the whole game, because your simple jump needs to be timed to do more damage. Also, every single enemy is like a tiny puzzle to figure out, as they all have telegraphed moves for which bro they're gonna attack, and oh what, you better learn them since this game is not easy. Some of the basic enemies can knock you down in the early game if you're not careful, which is why finding items and coins is a good reward since you'll go through them like butter. Leveling up also feels like heaven because you get to gamble, baby! Big money, no whammy, big money, no whammy, big money, no... Fuck! The real challenge of combat comes from the boss fights, which there are definitely no shortage of. Like, I was pretty surprised just how many there are, and each have their own gimmick, so it never feels like you're dodging the same attacks, and they make each boss stand out. And even when you do fight the same boss, they completely change their moveset, so it still feels fresh. And you'll definitely struggle against them, but the balancing is good enough to where you won't have to game over most of the time to learn the fights. The bros will definitely get KO'd, but it's usually one or the other. I never really had both die in the same turn. Everything about the combat feels so addictive. I went out of my way to fight basic enemies just because I was having fun. And the music for the boss fights is just so good, and sometimes are just as catchy as the overworld themes. I had a joyous time playing Superstar Saga. Every character was fun to talk to just to see how the bros react, and the combat is top notch as I just talked about. Although the endgame is a bit rough because it feels like it's dragging on, and the balancing is pretty poor since the regular enemies are stronger than the bosses. Playing through this has made me much more excited for the upcoming Mario & Luigi game, and from the trailers that are out so far, it seems like a pretty damn good comeback for the series. There seem to be mini games, the bros are more expressive than they've ever been, and the combat looks like Mario & Luigi combat. Although I'm still keeping my expectations tempered because you never know how good something is until the full package is in your hands. Pause. I'll be sure to cover the game at some point. I have no clue when, but you have the Linkthegamer promise that I will play the video game in my lifetime. And actually, before this video comes to a close, I'm going to do something I've never done on this channel, which is announcing what my next video will be on. So, enjoy this little teaser.
I will shed no tears. A year ago, I felt the same sense of deep loss that I do now. After that battle, many of my friends did not make it home. While I was being brought here on that stretcher, they were all I thought about.